Hi, I'm Tara. Wow. Hi, I'm Tara Lynn of Geek Saga Entertainment here with my co host Manny for the Geek Saga Show series, The Media That Made Us. This series focuses on media that the two of us consumed in our younger or maybe even just slightly younger years, media that helped shape our current interests and that we still love.
So I'm Manny, and for our 12th Media That Made Us episode, we're continuing our coverage of the reimagined Battlestar Galactica series and discussing the Daybreak Arc, which includes BSG's Season 4 three-part season finale.
Yeah, I guess when we're concluding our coverage than continuing, but
Yeah,
you know,
I mean the show goes on. It's just be a different show.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Before we get started, just a heads up that you can follow me and therefore all of the Geek Saga endeavors at a Geek Saga on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube.
And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Benissimo Art.
Just a couple other house cleaning items before we dig in. If you're watching this as a webcast on Facebook or YouTube, pretty please make sure to hit those like and or subscribe buttons. And if you're catching the audio only version on your favorite podcatcher, we could really use some more ratings, especially on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and would super very much greatly appreciate it if you could take a moment to mark the Geek Saga podcast 5 stars wherever you're listening. Last but hopefully not least, we hope you'll check out the Geek Saga Entertainment Patreon. We have a lot of tiers with just $3 per month, getting you the most prevalent perk of early access to podcast episodes. And for $5 a month and up, you will get a secret patrons only live stream as well. So check it out at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.
Our format for this Media That Made Us series includes our top 5 moments that made it, basically our hot takes from the portion of the series we're covering, followed by any insights we've uncovered from rewatches and or being longtime fans. And while we're only covering the three-part series finale in this episode, we had a tough time narrowing down these top moments, which we'll begin with the Galactica truly sticking the landing to kick off her final battle, or should it be the Galactica truly sticking her own ending?
Right? I mean, seriously, jumping right up next to the base star and then ramming straight into it, like chef's
Oh
kiss,
yeah.
man. Really, really, really stuck that landing and that ending.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that whole final battle scene, it was just really exciting, like it was very much just like a last stand kind of battle, like it was like cool. And then the fact that they just like ram a fucking hole into this fucking hive, like I'm glad it wasn't like reinforced or anything like that, like they didn't have like, well, just maybe they had other base stars crash into it by accident. They're like, hey, Jeff, we're gonna have to, put some more shielding on this thing because no, Galactica didn't care. They're just gonna sandwich their way right through it. But
I mean, I guess that there's a chance the Cylons who are with the people told them about a weak spot, but
yeah.
also there was such a tiny area/window of space that they could jump into at all that it seems very convenient that that
Mhm.
tiny little space they could jump into also happened to be right at the weak point. So,
Right at the weak point.
listen,
So
it's a TV show. I'm not complaining. I'm just stating the facts.
it is what it is. So but it was cool. Like that whole end scene was like great because all the gun battles and the way they're like, kind of invading the entire hive or whatever. I thought was really cool. It was really nice to see all the like the original Cylons, which was cool. But I do have one complaint. I've noticed that with the past few seasons, probably after season 3, like the beginning of season 3, I noticed that the special effects kept getting worse and worse. And it's really noticeable in this episode with those Cylons. Like, I mean, it is really noticeable. So that was the only thing, that I was like, but that was my only complaint probably about this part of the of the episode. But I'll never get tired of just watching those guns come out of Galactica and just shooting their firing like solution. Like that never gets old to me, man. I loved it.
Yeah, I wonder if and I should have I probably could have tried to look this up or maybe even ask Dean, but I do wonder if earlier in the show they were using more practical effects and later in the show they were trying for more like circa 2000 whatever it was 7 8 9 CGI, and that was the difference in the quality. Because when you've got really great practical effects, but not so great CGI, that's when it really shines through
Yep.
in all the good ways.
Exactly.
Um, Honestly, the fact that the Galactica survived this at all and was able to jump away was such a shock, though. Like, her surviving the whole plowing into the base star alone seemed so improbable,
Yep.
nay, impossible. And also, why are all of these terms, ramming, plowing
Yeah.
into,
Plowing.
so
Yeah.
hypersexualized? Like, okay,
Yeah.
no, but
Yeah.
really,
No.
I can't think of any terms that fit this scenario that aren't. So, like,
Yeah.
anyway.
It's like
Anyway.
I can just see the admiral in the CIC right now. What are we gonna do? You know, he's like, we're gonna penetrate her, but we're gonna do it kind of quickly, you know. But we want to get her ready first, you know, and then we're just gonna make our way in there. Like it's like, wait a minute.
Hey, this is Battlestar Galactica, not a porn.
Yeah, exactly. Oh
The
man.
battle was, I mean, really the highlight for me was seeing that moment where the Galactica jumps, like, shows up right in the crux of the base star, and then they're like, "Yeah, do it, go," and they just ram into it. The rest of the battle is very, like, not rushed in a bad way, but just rushed in the sense of, like, holy crap, one thing and another and another and another and another. You barely blink when, like, Racetrack dies. I totally
Mhm.
forgotten that when she dies, her hand, like, hits the thing and sets off the nukes.
Yep. I will say
But
this about that whole any outside shot they had there, they used really good angles for everything because they made a point to show you how small the Galactica was next to that hive, and then the hive circling that singularity on top of it. You know, they did
mm,
a really good job with these angles that made the Battlestar Galactica because we're you look at the Galactica amongst the fleet, it looks like a monster. I mean, it's just huge, you know. And this is one of those instances where it's like, dude, this thing just looks like a baby next to this thing, you know. So I thought that
yeah,
was really good use of
yeah.
angles.
I mean, the Cylon ship is a very good use of angles, let's be real.
Yeah, that's true. It's all, you know.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh, look, can you look at my comment on the next one and tell me if I should use what's in the text or what's in the comment for the next top moment? I forgot to ask you about this beforehand. Seeing us, listen, guys, it's been a week, so you're seeing us literally
yeah.
working as we go here. I think I'm going to use the comment.
I I I don't know. I think you need to use what's written because I actually play off that later in
Oh,
what I'm gonna
okay.
say next. So
Okay. Well, I'll reveal what the comment said
yeah.
after we talk then. But yeah, guys, so top moment number 2. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and have ourselves a prophecy. It doesn't fit all that well, but aka this is where I'm going to introduce Maester Manny to talk about the Opera House prophecy, quote unquote, fulfillment.
Thank you. Thank you,
Dear,
ladies and
dear sir,
gentlemen.
the floor is yours.
Thank you. It's been a while since the ending of House of the Dragon season 2, but the Maester's back now, and we're gonna take a step back into the ancient times of the mid 2000s when I saw the episode that first showed the Opera House prophecy. I understood its meaning completely. It was very clear, running through me like a river. That was to be the first prophecy of the great Maester Manny that will be forever spoken about in the great halls of Maesters for all time. And the prophecy goes as such. Here we see a clash of two worlds. Okay, we see the president of humanity, Laura Roslin, who is stuck in the old ways, and the other is Boomer or Athena, I guess, later or whatever. But Boomer, right? So she wishes to keep her child from harm, and she does not trust her child in the hands of, or trust her child's fate in the hands of humanity, right? And as they're now frantically running through the lobby of sorts near the concession stand, as they chase Caprica and Gaius, who are now walking together with Hera in their arms. Hera, the child of Boomer and Cylon. Boomer the Cylon and Helo the Gentle. As the Cylon mother of the child and the leader of humanity run to dictate what the shape of the future will be like. But they are both mistaken. for Gaius and Caprica showed up to the opera early and will be able to be seated. The doors close before Laura and Boomer can get to Hera, but they're too late. This clearly means that all the ways of old are to die. Only 3 will survive to usher in the new Cylon human civilization. The old will die in their old ways, as the prediction went. There will be a final battle, and in the heat of that battle, Caprica and Gaius will flee with Hera in the midst of the chaos, and flee on a raptor or robot raptor and flee, and as they flee, they see both fleets getting destroyed. We see Boomer and Laura both coming to the understanding that at least Hera got out alive. A white light fills the screen as both fleets annihilate each other. We then see Hera drawing more notes. Gaius, being a scientist, puts 2 and 2 together and realizes that she's actually writing coordinates. They jump to the location and they find this Earth. From there, they will build a new civilization. They'll probably be locals, so they'll have babies and stuff. That was the prophecy that was written by Maester Manny. And in the case of that prediction, it turned out to be fucking false. Terribly false. Okay, that's not what happened at all. Okay, the prophecy of the look, that's not what happened at all. The prophecy of the opera house was not a prophecy, it was more like a premonition. Okay, there was no real thing that came out of it. It was literally a prophecy of, oh, we're going to chase these people down the hall and wind up in the same place anyway. There was no consequence to that prophecy. In my eyes, it was literally pointless. It was completely pointless. Maybe it's because I was like raised Christian, so like you like read these like things in it and they're so cryptic, and it's like, wait, but what could it mean? What could it be this? But it's like, dude, that's like me like, okay, I had a dream that I was walking down this hallway and then I opened the door and there was like a salad waiting for me. And then the next morning I'm having this epiphany where it's like, wait a minute, I'm in my hallway and there's a salad waiting for me. Like there's no consequence to it. It's just like, it's like a premonition, we're just using a different backdrop.
Yeah, and they do call it a prophecy too, at least in everything I've read. And I think you're right. It's more of a premonition and almost more like when it happens, it's more deja vu for Rosalind than anything else. And I guess like what it does is it makes her do the thing that saves, you know what I mean? Like it does lead to a positive, I guess, conclusion, which is a good thing. And maybe she wouldn't have gone through with it if she hadn't had that dream, that premonition, whatever. But yeah, it's not a prophecy. It wasn't a prophecy, even though they've called it that. And
they built it up for a while, where it was just like, and that's how I came up with my theory of it. I was like, dude, this is clear what's going to happen. These people are chasing each other for this kid, and no one's going to get the kid except for Gaius and Caprica. And it made a lot of sense because Caprica at this point was way more like compassionate. She was more of like a person, and Gaius was very much changed. He was a little bit of a religious nut, sure, but he wasn't really that religious nut. He was just more like calm-minded. He was everything. And I was like, oh yeah, these are the perfect people to like usher in the like new civilization now, because these people are not about the old anymore. They've let go of their old ways and they're trying to move forward.
Well, and also, I mean, even in that moment, when Hera runs away, Hilo is gravely injured. And to be fair, you don't see him again until until the end, when you see him like limping around or whatever. And so, obviously he survives. Thank God. I don't.
Yeah.
And I guess that was like a point of contention where they were talking about killing him off, and Hilo was like, listen, I think not Hilo, I'm sorry. Tom Pennicott was like, listen, I feel like this is the and I'm paraphrasing, but this is an interview that I read. He was kind of like, that would just be death for like death's sake. Like, well, we have to kill off more major characters in the finale or whatever. And I mean, I agree. I'm glad they didn't kill him, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I think that in that moment, I think even watching it the first time, do you remember seeing that Hilo is like gravely injured and thinking like, okay, well, if Hilo's gravely injured, who knows what Athena's going to do or what's going to happen to Athena. And therefore maybe Baltar and Caprica 6 will end up with Hera.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean,
again,
listen,
I was really hoping, because even when I saw that scene, so Hilo gets shot, I'm like, here it comes. Here it comes. The Galactica screwed. They're not getting out of here. The Hive, they're going to fall into that singularity. Everyone's dead. Gaius and Kara. I was so like, I would have put money down on my own, mouth, just like that's exactly what's going to happen because that's what the prophecy told me, and that's what it was building up to, and that's why I hate fucking prophecies.
I listen, it could have been worse. They could have literally never revisited that whole opera house thing ever again.
That is
I would
true.
not have expected this show to do that, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
were they weren't Game of Thrones. uh
I think they
but
chickened out in the end. I honestly think that they were wanting to do other things, and I really feel like they just chickened out in the end, and they were like, we need to play it safe and give it like a reasonable ending. They wanted to end it like on a good note where everybody has a happy ending almost.
no, that's not a bad thing. And I say that as somebody who does actually tend to usually prefer things to have more like ambiguous or not entirely happy endings.
Mhm.
Just because I think that's more like realistic. And I mean, at the same time, I enjoy a good happy ending for sure,
Mhm.
but this
I do
isn't the
too.
type
Yeah.
of show that you necessarily expect to have one of
No.
those.
No.
And I'm not mad that it did have as positive of an ending as it did, and that we didn't lose uh some of these beloved characters.
I agree with
That
that.
That Hera
Yeah.
didn't lose her parents or even one of her
Mhm.
parents and have to
Yep.
be raised. Not that, and like you're right, Gaius and Baltar and Caprica are very different than they were at the beginning, but
Mhm.
you still don't want this little kid to like she should be raised by her parents who love each other and love her and.
It was a good ending, and I'm not gonna like I don't feel like my ending would have been better. It's just that the way the show was building, it was building with this point of like destiny is what it
Mm,
was. So the fact that they had this opera house prophecy, I was like, well, this has to mean something, right? Because everything in the show, the song, everything's building
yeah.
up to something, and here comes this prophecy, and it's coming true now. So now it's like, oh, something's gonna happen. And it was just like, literally, "Hey, guys, you locked the door in front of us. Can you let us in?" "Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Like, here, come on in."
This is
It's
where
like,
we need Patrick here with Patrick's prophecies to talk to
yeah,
us about how not all prophecies should come true and everything.
I
So,
will I will yeah, I'm gonna
which
fight
I
him on that
also
one,
agree
yeah.
with, but
I just feel just the way it was built up. It was built up like it was something really important, and in the end,
mm,
it was nothing important. You just predicted that you'd be running down the same hallway chasing after the same people. That's it.
yeah, yeah. Well, before we go on to the next top moment, just to reveal because I said I would reveal what the note was or what my comment was about. I was hemming and hawing about what I actually said, which was like, "Let's all go to the lobby." But the other option was, "Let's all go to the CSE. Let's all
Yeah.
go to the CSE." So,
But I fucked it
I
up because I put, concession stand down here that I just totally stumbled over when I said it, so that's what
listen, this live. We're doing it live. We're doing
doing
it
it live.
live.
Fuck it, doing it live.
Oh gosh. All right. Next up.
Oh, man, alright. A deal is struck. A deal is struck until Tori is struck dead, that is. That's right, the final 5 were gonna give resurrection to Cavil's faction, but Chief went on and ruined it. For good reason.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, like, to be fair, he had his reasons. The whole thing where they had to share literally everything about themselves with each other and
Mhm.
everything they've ever done, and you can see how nervous Tori is for fuck's
Yep.
sake. Like, yeah, you should be, girl. And she's like trying to insist they've all done bad things, and you gotta wonder if maybe she'd confessed before they started the process, whether things would have gone differently, but I suppose, honestly, that's kind of neither here nor there because
Mhm.
she doesn't confess, and it's a big
Mhm.
what if anyway, um, and as soon as Chief sees what she did to Callie, he breaks the
Mhm.
connection to just straight up snap snap her neck. Like, oh,
Yeah, just
good
crush
job,
her neck. Just
good
crush
job.
her neck and just tossed her out like a piece of trash.
I mean, yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
did you see how violent that throw was, like, after he killed her? He was just like he was just like, "Wow, chief."
Mhm.
But look, I mean, can we talk about the chief's anger issues, though? I mean, he really seems to have a
Yeah,
problem with it,
yeah.
However, in this instance, I'll give it a pass. Tori had it coming. It was well deserved, but Jesus, how fucking aggressive was that? You know, it was like hardcore, but like a little too hardcore. I was like, bro, like, you know,
The look
I mean,
on
I
his face was scary.
was scary. It was straight up fucking, scary. So, but I mean, I'm glad it happened because like I thought it was really stupid to like give Cavill's fractions like resurrection to like begin with, you know? We
Mhm.
all know who Cavill's character is. Do you think for a second that he's gonna like just let it go and be like, okay, great, like he's gonna come back again? And then
Mhm.
he's like, well, now I know where they are, so I'm just gonna nuke them and then we'll keep the planet for ourselves because he's got this weird god complex, you know? So no, it was a terrible fucking idea to like begin with, like
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree, that I can't foresee how that ever would have worked out, so I'm glad that they did something to negate it happening, but yeah, I
mhm,
also agree about Chief's anger issues. Again, this is not the first time he's been violent with a woman specifically too.
yep,
Granted, the Callie thing that happened way earlier in the series wasn't quite the same because Chubby Very did not actually know what he was doing at that time,
mhm,
but still, like, and also, yes, Tori did a fucking terrible thing, but Callie was on the cusp of committing a murder
mhm,
suicide that
yeah,
involved Nikki, who at the time Chief still believed was his son.
mhm.
Though honestly, now that I'm saying that, like, shit, like Callie knew Nikki wasn't Chief, so why did she have him with her at all?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I know this is likely a retcon issue, but now that I'm
It's a
thinking about
retcon
it, it's
issue.
like,
It's definitely a
why
retcon issue.
why did you have the kid leave him with his real dad?
It's real dad, hot dog.
Yeah.
Our favorite
Hot
hot dog.
hot dog's doing great raising that kid, carrying him around, picking up the pictures of the people from the memorial wall who, haven't been claimed yet.
Exactly, he's not fighting with the chief for, like, custody. Chief is just like, "Oh, whatever, it's your kid, take him, get him out of here."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
whatever,
I
you know?
mean, like, literally, they land on a planet, and Chief is like, "I'm gonna go find the most remote place that exists.
Yeah,
Fuck all
yeah,
y'all,"
fuck all y'all.
including the child. So, honestly,
Yep,
like, listen, props to Hot Dog.
yeah.
Props
You
to
gotta
Hot
give it to my
Dog.
boy Hot Dog. He's at least he was living his best life, the best life he possibly could live on the Galactica there and making babies, like, that's cool, man. Proud of you, Hot Dog, proud of you.
Alright, well, moving on to top moment number 4, the Starbuck formula,
Mm.
aka the formula to finding a truly habitable planet. Starbuck plus song equals New Earth.
New Earth. Look, I really did enjoy that the song had like more meaning. It didn't just like bring them in, like they heard it. And I thought at first, well, okay, the song was just being played in their head so they can all find each other. But no, it's literally playing the coordinates to where they're going to wind up, you know? So I thought it was cool. It was like, I don't know. It was just a destiny moment, like for all of them. Like, what was this song? Why is everyone hearing it? But I guess it's like God humming it in their head so they can find their way home. Honestly, I
Mhm.
really liked it. I felt like they've done some really wacky things towards the end of the series, but this to me like really worked, and this is like, even though this wasn't like a prophecy thing, this was certainly like a destiny thing, and it was played way better than the fucking opera house bullshit. Like it was played way better than it.
Yeah.
So, honestly, I loved it, and when she's entering,
Oh,
like, the,
same.
yeah, and when she's, like, entering the, like, coordinates, and it's doing all these, like, flashbacks and stuff of, like, Carrot the
Yeah.
Race and how everything is kind of coming together, I was like, "Dude, like, Destiny moment, this is fantastic." I loved it.
And
Fantastic.
and listen, I go back to our previous episode, the Arc of Despair episode, where we talked about what Starbuck might be and how she could
Mhm,
possibly have been half Cylon. And I mean, Hera gave Starbuck specifically the picture that
mhm.
included the notes for the song that Starbuck then assigned numbers and then used those numbers to jump them to a habitable planet. Hello,
Yep,
angel
yep,
my ass.
yep,
I mean,
exactly.
she at best in my head, I say she is a half Cylon and that she is like everybody's head Starbuck,
Yeah.
right? She
Yeah.
like Gaius had Baltar had head 6. She is
Mhm.
everybody's head Starbuck.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know the details. I don't know how it really happened in the end. There's like you said, there's so much left just bleh. But
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying. And
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. Like the flashbacks while she's plugging in the numbers. And also it's building up and of course now we know, but the first time you watch it, the sort of
Mhm.
anxiety of like what the fuck is going to happen.
Yep. And I
And
remember
on
yeah.
top of that, before they even see Yarth,
Yeah.
uh, before they even see Yarth over here, that is the crack that breaks the mothership's back.
Yep. That was it. It was done. And that scene, it was like an extended scene of watching the Galactica just twist around like a rag, Like it was so wild to like see it. And then like Laura Roslин's like, "Where have you taken us?" And it just focuses on
Mhm.
Kara's face. And I remember watching this with a group of people. And the second the shot changed and you saw the Galactica flying over a moon, like we all knew what it was at this point, and everyone stood up and yelled, and they were like, "Yeah!" Like it was great.
Very
I
Independence Day shot there, BT dubs.
Yes, very Independence Day shot. It
Which
was
Independence Day
fucking
did come out
wonderful.
before this, so just saying.
Yes,
That's why it's
yes,
an Independence Day shot.
but it was
Like, yeah, I just
fantastic. I
I
mean, it
even
made
had,
yeah.
like, the Independence Day music in my head as they're doing
Mhm.
but yeah, exactly,
It
like,
was fantastic. It was fantastic.
so good, and, just of course, it was Starbuck, okay? Like,
That was good. She was important, like it was
Starbuck
nice.
Starbuck plus, fuck, oh god. Starbuck plus what the fuck is the title of that song? Why am I blanking on it? You
Dude,
are
all
too,
along the
aren't you?
watchtower.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. Starbuck plus All Along the Watchtower equals ER.
Yep. Earth, Earth, fake
That's a Lilo
Earth.
and Stitch. That's a Lilo and Stitch reference for those of you who do not know me. Just look behind me. Oh, wait,
Man.
there it is. There it is. There's 1, 2, 3. There's a
Yes.
lot of stitches. I'll delete that out of the podcast version. But okay, well, we're moving through these pretty quick, but we do have a lot of
Yeah, insight.
insights to talk about. So, what's our last top moment, Manny?
Wrapping up all these stories and putting a pretty little bow on top. Well, sort of.
Yeah. Uh there are definitely like some big hopes here that I guess thankfully pay off or at least have
Mhm.
paid off as far as we can see through the very end scene of the series. We'll get to that in a bit. But first, so the people, the humans and the sixes, eights, and twos, they're gonna spread out across the land and trash their tech to live like and with the locals. Real big assumption, by the way, that even without
Yeah.
the tech, the locals won't be like, "What the fuck are y'all wearing? Why are you guys so loud all of the time? Leave us the hell alone."
Yeah, exactly.
Like, okay, they don't have guns and computers and shit, but
Mhm.
like Caprica just walks up in her red dress.
Exactly, dude,
I mean,
and they're making, like
she doesn't. They're all wearing the most normal clothes they could possibly wear, but even like their
yep.
BDUs and shit are so futuristic compared to
Mhm.
like loincloths. I can't remember if they show much about what the locals are wearing, but they don't even have language yet. So,
They don't yeah, I'm pretty sure they don't have shoes or anything like that, and
yeah.
then you come showing up with these combat boots, and it's like
Hmm.
it's very, very interesting.
But and then the Centurions are given
Mhm.
their freedom and their freedom ride, the base ship, so that they can find their own destiny, all on the sheer hope that setting them free alone will break the cycle of violence.
Yeah.
I applaud their positivity in this moment. I can't believe it still exists at all, but I
Yeah.
do applaud it. It's
They
kind of like
definitely
it's like living in this world right now. I
Mhm.
have 0 positivity left in me most days. So,
Yeah, dude, and they're like rolling a lot of dice at this point. This is just a group of people who are fucking
mhm.
tired and have accepted their fate regardless of what happens. They're like, you know
Yeah.
what? I don't care anymore. Just whatever. Give them the base ship. Sure. Give fine. Resurrection. You want a resurrection caval? Sure, take it. You promise you leave us alone? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Great. All
Well,
right. Get out of
thankfully,
here.
him and his faction are gone. They're dead
Thank
now.
God. Yeah. He fucking
So,
deserved it.
and again, like the Centurions, at least as of where we are in the very last scene of the show, they seem to have stayed
Hmm.
away. So, but they who fuck for all we know, they gave the aliens from Independence Day their fucking tech and
Their tech. Exactly.
okay, I'm kidding. But and then of course Anders will pilot the Galactica and the rest of the colonial fleet into the sun, which is probably the most like final action of these
Hmm.
3 that I've just
Yep.
that we've just talked about because those ships obviously aren't coming back from that. So
No. No. They're gone.
so yeah.
No, like the concept hits like deep for me, because as much as I enjoy tech, I have a lot of days where I want to grab all of my technology and throw it into the fucking sun and just live like normal people used to fucking live, because there's so much noise in it, So it's like I understand it. And even though like it seemed like the population was all of a sudden agreeing to it, like at first it was like, and then I thought about it, and probably when I'm older now, like I understand it more. To where I'm like, yeah, I'd fucking do that too. I'd be like, yeah, sure, get rid of all of it. We can just start over. And and with the silence taking off with like the base star, that was just like a really classy ending for them. It was just like, and the way it was even filmed, again, these last 3 episodes, they did a great job with angles. So you see the planet, you see the base star, then it shows all of them inside with their hands in the water, and it just kind of blinks away, and it's just like, and it's got the epic music, and because all the music in these last three episodes is really epic. It's really just good, and it's very well rounded. It's not just like all the drumming stuff that we heard. So it's very orchestra, very beautiful, and I thought that was fucking great. I was like, man, awesome. So I don't know. It was fucking cool. And then my favorite scene, probably my favorite scene of the entire series, okay, of the entire series is when Adama is getting on the Viper, right? He's on the deck and there's no one else there. He's clearly the last man on board aside from Anders. But and he's getting on his ship and he flies. And as he's flying, like, he's like right next to the Galactica, and you can see like how messed up and how like wrinkled like like the Galactica is from all the beating, and you see the words on it, and then the song kind of goes into its like change as he changes his view and looks straight. That's the point where you're truly like he's saying goodbye to the Galactica at this point. And you see Earth, and then it jumps right into Anders' speech about like
Mhm.
like perfection and all this stuff. And it just does it, and you see the entire fleet, and it's going off into the sun, playing the original Battlestar Galactica theme, and it was just so fucking touching. And then the fact that you never see the Galactica get destroyed. You see
Yeah.
it going towards the sun. We know it gets destroyed,
Mhm.
but they never dishonor her by showing her getting like
Yep.
destroyed.
Yep.
When you talk,
1,000%.
and I thought that that was just
And we'll talk
wonderful.
about the flashbacks some more in a bit, but I wanna say, like, Anders' flashbacks, they were the ones that honestly, like, they gave me the chills, they hit me the hardest.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
me too.
like,
Absolutely,
I
me
have
too.
feelings about some of the other ones, particularly Rosalind's, but
Hmm.
for reasons, but yeah, Anders, like, hi the the speech he was giving, like you said,
Hmm.
that was the one flashback sequence where I think they did a perfect job with it and they timed it perfectly and
Perfectly
everything.
timed. Yep.
And it was like, honestly, like, a really, really good ending for a character who was kind of
Hmm.
secondary for a long time.
It was a
Um,
beautiful ending.
and
Yeah,
was also
beautiful ending for this character.
the only one of the 4 of
Hmm.
minus Ellen, but her last name is also Ty. Only one of the 4 who didn't have a T name. Just saying.
Exactly. Get out of here, Anders.
Oh my god, terrible.
Who has a T in his name? Hot dog. Hot dog has a T in his
No,
name.
but it doesn't start anything, so
No.
ooh. Oh, but no, wait, his name is Samuel T. Anders, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's right, it is. So he has a T.
Oh,
All
he
right.
does have a T, so you
He's
can't
a
make it
T.
sorry, base hot dog comparison.
look, he has T's in his name, is just not like starting yet, you know?
Yeah. No,
I'm just
exactly.
saying.
Exactly. I
But
agree.
but but again, the ending would not have been the same if it was hot dog sitting in that puddle of goo as opposed to Anders. You know, like, yeah, can you imagine if they did that? Can you imagine the flashbacks hot dog would be getting, like, and what his words of wisdom are? He'd be like, "Oh man, this is cool. Hey guys, we made it. I feel great now. Hey, I hope everybody has a good time. Bye guys." You know, like it would not have been as like epic. And I'm not making fun of hot dog. I love hot dog. I'm just saying, like, his fucking personality is what I'm saying, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like
Oh God. Okay. All right.
ugh.
I think it's time to talk about insights, starting with the insights that we're going to talk about insights we have gleaned from being longtime fans, but we're going to start with our Dean sites because
Mhm.
this last Battlestar Galactica episode we're doing, I've been referring to any Easter eggs or bloopers. These and we haven't had a blooper in a long time, other than we have talked about the failure to oh my gosh, the thing we talked about in the last episode of Boomer's exiting when Boomer's like trying to fly the Raptor out of the Galactica, the failure to pull
Failure.
in the launch
Oh, yes,
bay.
the launch bays, yep.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, anyway, but we haven't talked about bloopers really much in a while, but uh we are calling production and like really deeper insights into the inner workings of the show as Dean sites, because my partner Dean knows more about the series than I ever could, and he constantly points things out to me. I long ago lost track of what I knew before I knew him, blah blah blah. So the first Dean site is Manny.
Moore and the writers hemmed and hawed about what to do with the Galactica at the end. For instance, they considered burying it and showing it being dug up in the far future. And even before they decided the Colonials would get rid of all the technology, they talked about only torching the ships, a la Cortez burning his ships after reaching the New World. That I think would have been pretty cool, but like I thought it would have been cool to like see the Galactica getting dug up after, like, but then it brings a whole new like, I
Yeah.
feel like it changes because the thing is
Hmm.
that I think the point of the show is that it ends in the real world, right? It ends where we're at right now, right?
Hmm.
So by doing that, I feel like it's like, no, I like it better the way it ended. But I do like, I'm a big sucker for like the concept of like an ancient ship that's been found many years later and this technology and all this kind of shit, you know. And then let's face
Yeah.
it, if the locals today found that ship today, they would just use all of its information to create all kinds of shit, and then the cycle would happen all over again.
Yep. Yep.
You
Well,
know?
and also like the torching the ships a la Cortez, that's basically what they did.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously Cortez and his men brought things to the New World that the New World did not have at the time. So
yeah,
it's not entirely like a one-to-one comparison, but listen, how much did Cortez and his people really have that was good?
exactly, exactly.
So I think they took that concept and went a little extra with it, and I'm glad they did what they did. All right, so second Dean site. The first draft of the script that spanned these 3 episodes is what it is on Amazon Prime. And I think it's actually what it's also listed as Google listed listed as on Google, but I feel like when it aired it was Daybreak Part 1 was by itself, and then Daybreak 2 and 3 were together from what I remember. But anyway, whatever. The first draft of the script that spanned these episodes was almost exactly what was shot. But there was one exception that was pretty big, at least in my opinion.
Mhm.
The That very first draft had Adama and Roslyn getting into the Raptor and flying off into space, never to be seen again. But Mary McDonnell reminded Moore that not only had she counted on having a death scene, but that Moore himself had promised her one. So that is, of course, the route they took. And this actually flows right into my first personal insight,
Mhm.
and also kind of gives me like a bit more to say about it. I can't, first of all, I can't believe they ever thought about not showing Rosalind die on screen.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term. I don't know that they show her take her absolute last breath on screen. It's a
Mhm.
little bit, the cutting and everything, makes it,
Mhm. Yeah.
like, a sure, but, like, we all knew she was going to die for sure,
Mhm.
and it was heartbreaking and powerful at the same time to see her basically right up to her very end. I
Mhm.
can't imagine the show without her final moments. Um, sorry, this is continuing. I really hate when people use the term frack in general conversation, but this is a BSG webcast, so I'm gonna conclude this particular insight by saying frack cancer. Um, and I knew I was gonna choke up at this because I've got some personal stuff that has happened this week. So, Manny, what's your first personal insight?
So, the more things change, the more they stay the same. It's a quote from a French critic, Jean-Baptiste Alphonse Carr. I probably completely mispronounced that, and I don't give a shit.
No,
Okay,
you
I'm
got
sorry.
Jean-Baptiste Alphonse. That's right.
Okay, okay. So it's because we have some of those names in Cuba, so I was familiar with it. And anyways, as I always keep bringing the show back to Deep Space Nine, because I think I've done that probably in almost every episode at some point. This quote was also used in the last episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So I thought that was a nice little, I don't know, nice little like moment for me anyway. I'd for the
Yeah.
5 people that watch Deep Space Nine, but you know.
I'm sure there's tons of people that watch Jesus. I was just not one of them. Um, okay, so one thing I want to touch on a little bit is Head 6 and Head Baltar. The real 150,000 year story. Huh.
Yep.
um, I I liked how we I liked how Caprica and Baltar were together in the final
Mhm.
battle. Um, Actually, let me do a random aside, mini insight.
Mhm.
Why did they have sick bay prep all of the triage stuff when they knew they were going to ram the base star? I never thought about that before, but I've also been watching The Pit on HBO, which is a show that takes place in an emergency room, and so they're always
Yep.
prepping triage and shit, and it's like, why would you put all those scalpels and shit on the tables if you knew you were gonna be, like, crashing into
Ramming
something?
something. Maybe you should have
Like,
done it after,
like, have them contained in, like, enclosed cases or something. Like, maybe they don't have those, but also, like, why would you do all that knowing that it was all just gonna fly everywhere?
Fly everywhere.
Anyway,
Dude, for
okay,
God's sakes,
sorry.
like, take the wheels off of the fucking beds,
Yes!
like
What happened there? Who did like, I know Rosalind was
exactly,
part of that, but there were doctors there, okay? There were doctors there.
exactly.
Not Coddle. Not Coddle.
Nope.
He Oh god, actually shit. I'm going into another mini insight. Can we talk about how Coddle offered to be part of the Hera rescue mission and Adama was like, "Nah, man, you good. Like, we
Yeah, he's
cannot
like,
lose
"No,
another like, we cannot lose, like, basically our only doctor, I think, at this point, as far as we know." Um,
Yep.
but I love that Coddle fucking offered because of course he did, because we love Doc Coddle. Doc Coddle
He's
and hot
fucking
dog.
fantastic.
This is the Doc Coddle and hot dog stand webcast
And I
podcast.
really yeah, fuck yeah, hands down, dude. And I love how Rosalind, like, broke him in that
Mm,
scene when she's being all loving towards him, and he's just like, "Oh,
yep.
like, I don't know what to say," and she's like, "Don't say anything, just light a cigarette and grumble
Yeah.
something and
I
just
was gonna
go,"
say, "Dude, let it cigarette."
Yeah, exactly.
Oh
I
my god,
loved
okay,
it, it was
I've
perfect.
gotten off track. The original thing was, Baltar and Caprica 6 being together,
Mhm.
in the battle, and Caprica 6 saying, I'm proud of you." And I never thought about it, but that's the one thing I needed to feel about
Mhm.
you that I never had before, and then they, like, make out and stuff, and,
Yep.
I feeling proud of somebody is a very, very feeling proud of somebody you love is a very powerful thing. It's a
Yeah,
very
it is.
powerful emotion. I
It is.
mean, the way I feel proud of, like, my loved like Dean, my
Mhm.
stepkids, my sisters, their like, my nieces and nephews, my friends, like, just hearing her say that was and what comes after, it's not about them finally, "Oh, they're finally back together, guys." It's more just like, that's what she needed to, like, get to that point. I don't
Yeah.
know. It was nice, and then also funny that Head 6 and Head Baltar are like, "Hey, guys, stop. We're here.
Yeah. We're here, guys.
We're proud of you too. We're here. We're not queer, at least not,
Exactly.
like, at least, like, I mean, listen, honestly,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, well, first of all, absolutely, absolutely, they both have neither one of them is perfectly straight. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had 6 and have Baltar showing up and just kind of, "What's up?"
Hey, guys. It's like,
Oh, you
"Oh,
you can see him? You can see him?
you can see him? Can you see both of them or just one of them? Like, what are you seeing both of them? Do you know? Like, which one are you seeing? Which one am I seeing? You know? Mine looks like hot dog, you know? Like,
But then,
you
like,
know, no.
we follow the Head 6 and Head Baltar through the end of the series. With
Mhm.
Baltar's, like, very extra, like, I mean,
Yeah.
those sunglasses he was wearing were honestly, like, those went out in, like, 2003 or so,
Yeah,
but
dude. Those
the
Smash
fashion the
Mouth
fashion in
glasses,
this
you know?
show at the like, in the beginning, it's like, okay, this is 2002, 2003-ish fashion, maybe
Mhm.
in most cases, but
Yep.
by the end, it was like, "Ooh, guys, come on, they're supposed to be in present day New York City. Those sunglasses are out. They've been out
Well,
for, like,
those have
5
been
years."
out for a while. Exactly, exactly.
But,
Yeah.
it was very, like, I don't know, what do you actually, you know
That
what? Do we need to no, I don't I think our next stuff is mostly about the flashback, so I am interested in your thoughts on, uh, Baltar and Caprica in the far future and just them being, like, I guess, the shepherds of the story in a way,
yeah, they
and
kinda
she's the
are.
one
Yeah.
that's reading the Mitochondrial Eve
Mhm.
article, which is ugh, but
But again, it's like, we never get like a clear answer as to what they are to begin with. Is that Caprica and Boltar? Like, okay, because you got to understand, like in death, there's no time, right? So could it be that that is Gaius who
mhm.
died, and he just kind of appeared to himself back in time to kind of like, or to Caprica to kind of guide them together, like, is that what they are, or are they just angels disguising themselves as Gaius and Caprica? Like, it never quite tells
They're
you what that
actually
is.
seraphs, okay?
Seraphs,
They're
okay.
wingless angels,
Wingless angels.
they never got to appear in Battlestar 1980, so
No,
I
no.
mean,
So
but
you
to
have
be
to kind of.
honest, them being seraphs is actually kind of more believable than most other things, so I I I I
That's
like a
true.
lot I like a lot of other things other than them just being angels.
Yeah, no, I did too. But I mean, but even to me, it's like they could be angels, and then they're just like. But again, if they would have just explained it, like, why did you help us this whole time? Oh, because we are you, right? Like, you pass
Yeah,
away eventually, and that's what we are, and we just wanted to come back and see you, or whatever, like, there could have been an explanation to it. There wasn't. That's fine. Ambiguity, whatever. That's totally fine. I'm okay with that, but if it was just seraphs and it was just like, angels or whatever, like, why did they embody the way these two people look? And why wasn't it their own look or something else?
this doesn't entirely apply, but, so and I'm talking about a dream, so again, that's what I'm saying, this doesn't entirely apply, but, my dog Wendy passed away in 2019. She had cancer, and it was a very in a lot of ways, it was a very sudden end. It was
Mhm.
like she seemed okay. I had taken her to
Mhm.
the vet for some minor problems. One day she collapses. I have to spend like 8 grand in emergency surgeries and vet bills and whatnot. They tell me after the fact that they tested it, like they biopsied the tumors. It was cancerous, whatever. It had spread like a month after the surgery. She collapsed again, and I had to let her go. It was a very fucking difficult time for me.
Mhm.
And years later, I mean, I'm talking even like as recent as I can't remember the last time exactly, but for sure within the last year, I still have dreams where my dog, Wendy, is in my like she shows up in my dreams and I know she's dead. Like I know I'm
Mhm.
seeing like a ghost Wendy or an angel Wendy, but
Yeah.
there are other people there and I ask them, "Can you see her? Can you see her?" And they can too. And the
Yeah.
thing is, like, I know I always know she's not like, I always know she's gonna go, right? And it's like happy and sad at the same time because,
Mhm.
like, she's there with me in the dream and she's, like, playing and young and happy again and loving me and loving my friends and my family, whoever, because it's been different groups of people, but it's always people she knows.
Mhm.
Um, and, like, I know she's going to go, and but also all the people in the dream, they can also see her. I don't know if they understand that she's gonna leave, that she's not, she's not alive, but, like,
Mhm.
there's a part of me that it's like, I know that this isn't a dream for them or anything, but there is a part of me having had these dreams now, which I had not when I first watched the series, that it seems like almost like a situation like that.
Mhm.
Does that make sense at all? Like, or am I
Yeah,
just
no.
blabbering?
No, no, it
It's
makes
not a
sense,
again,
and
it's not a one-to-one comparison, but
yeah. No, but
it's
it
like
makes sense,
a
yeah.
yeah.
No, it
Um,
makes sense.
anyway, so, what's your next insight?
Mine is less of an insight and just more of, like, a commentary about this arc altogether, you know?
Mm,
Like, it may sound weird after all the arcs that we've done, but I feel like this one was the most out of place out of everything because it really felt like its own contained miniseries. You know, it had a definitive beginning and had a definitive ending, and anything in the middle they filled in with flashbacks. You know, so it starts off, like a new show, and like with the flashbacks and where they're at, it sets this kind of like finale tone where you just know, like okay, here it is, but it comes with just flashbacks after flashbacks after flashbacks. And I felt like a lot of the flashbacks should have taken place earlier in the series, right? Because I feel like there was a lot of them that were very telling, in particular the ones with Gaius, right? When you see what Gaius went through with his with his dad, but it really made me feel bad for him. Where I'm like, "Oh, no wonder he's like so arrogant. And he's like, look at me, I'm better than everybody," kind of person, because he was literally being belittled by his dad the entire time, and was just like a piece of crap in his dad's eyes. Like no wonder he grew up to be like that. And I felt that that was a very strong part, to understand about his character, and not to like forgive some of the stupid shit that he's done, but like I get it. And then it makes like a lot of sense where it's like, yeah, he's rebellious and he's like, whatever the hell, but let's face it, he didn't want to sign that paper to execute those 200 people on the planet. He was sitting there with a gun to his head. Like he wasn't a bad person. He was just misguided, he was just dumb, and you can see like, well, of course he was, because the guy was treated like crap by his fucking father, so he wanted to just be whatever the fuck, I don't know. But the other flashbacks are like really cool too. Like there was cool, like with Laura Roslin, that it kind of reveals her backstory, because that one was heartbreaking, because it's like the baby shower, then they leave, and then she gets woken up in the middle of the night, and it's like, okay, her whole, her sisters died in a car wreck, and then
your
you
whole
know
family, her sisters and
your
her
whole
dad. My
family.
god.
Yeah, it was like everybody. So she has to like, and then she kind of goes back to normal, not normal, but she's like kind of getting on with her life, and sleeps with one of her students, not that she was still a teacher, it was one of her past students.
Yes. He was
And
a full-on adult, like, there's
a
definitely
full-on adult,
it's
yeah.
definitely a May, December thing, but, like, he was a
Yeah,
full-on adult, so
exactly. So it was cool to like see those, and even the flashbacks with like Kara and Lee, and to see like how something almost happened between them, and like
oh, that
all
was
that kind of
rough.
stuff. Yeah, but I thought it was really fucking cool, like, wow, this is, like, really good stuff, like, I overall enjoyed it, it's just that it was jarring, like,
Mhm.
it just threw the pace of the entire show off, because it made me feel for a second like I was watching a different television show when they were doing
Yeah.
these, like, flashbacks.
Yeah.
And, again, none of them were bad, they were all good, and I thought
Yep.
they did great for their characters, but I'm like, "Why are you doing this at the very end?" Because now it's like it almost seems like it's almost like a filler almost, because let's face it, there isn't much that needs to happen in these next 3 episodes, right? They need to
Mhm.
kill the Cylons, go to Earth, and then throw the stuff away, and we're done, so they could have done that in one episode, but I liked it. It was cool to see like Caprica, like before the fall and all that kind of stuff, and the way life was, and it wasn't much different than what we do today, like things like that. But like I said, it wasn't bad. It was just different. I just felt like it was like off, like slightly skewed, watching these 3 episodes.
So, this is something I actually read a bunch about, in like after watching these episodes and in preparation for this webcast. I guess more and the writers knew that the network was
Mhm.
going to push back on the length of the series finale episodes
Mhm.
whatever.
Episode.
um and they also knew that the first thing the network would suggest to cut would be the flashbacks, which is what happened. But
Mhm.
they, like, more and the writers really, really wanted to keep them no matter what, because they wanted to show the characters how they began in simpler
Mhm.
times, et cetera, et cetera. Um, but I agree with you. Like, personally, I feel like, why didn't they spread these out throughout season 4, or even just throughout the
Mhm.
second half of season 4
Yeah.
versus
Something. Mhm.
cramming them all in at the end? And again,
Mhm.
I'm with you. I don't hate them or anything at all, not by any stretch of the imagination, but they did leave the pacing feeling off,
Yep.
especially like, if we're gonna look at this as as it is on Amazon Prime,
Mhm.
which is 3 separate episodes.
Mhm.
Daybreak Part 1 especially is like,
Very off. Yep.
they it's very off.
Mhm.
So, but you're right. I like what we saw, and I just wish it had been not all shoved into the finale
Yeah.
situation.
Mhm.
As for Baltar and Caprica 6, I think they meant to show a deeper connection between those 2 characters with the
Mhm.
flashbacks, but I'm not quite sure they succeeded. I think the thing with Baltar's dad and even the subsequent conversation, where Baltar offers to show Caprica the defense mainframe or whatever,
Mhm.
made Baltar look worse, but Caprica look better.
Mhm.
Uh, and maybe the things I've read uh didn't communicate that properly, but
Mhm.
that's how it felt to me. Like,
Yeah.
Baltar, like, yes, his dad is being a dick, but also, like, we don't know what his dad has been through. We don't know what
Mhm.
for all we know, he has dementia.
Mhm.
And,
That is
like,
true.
people with dementia and people at the end of their life, they can be really mean and really paranoid.
Yeah.
And this is not because they are actually bad people at all. It's
Yep.
because their mental faculties have just, they're not
Mhm.
there.
Yep.
Um Now, I think, I don't know that that's entirely what they were trying to, I think they were, you're right, trying to show that Baltar's dad was, like,
Mhm.
sort of abusive or whatever, but at the same time, I some of that is like a difference in like, his dad was raised as a
Yeah.
farmer, as we
Farmer.
all know. And also, we get that scene at the very end where actual Baltar on Earth,
Yarth.
breaks down, like, remembering, like, I know how to farm, and that was actually really, really nice.
It was very nice.
Um, but
And
yeah,
beautifully acted, beautifully
yeah,
acted. It felt
yeah,
so real, and
yeah.
it was just and I think that, James Callis is a great actor, like fantastic.
Mhm,
But he really brought his fucking triple A
mhm.
game to these last episodes. I mean, he really
Yeah,
fucking brought it. There's no problems with his acting. His acting was perfect from start to finish of this series. But I feel like in these last episodes,
yeah, No, for
He
sure.
fucking brought it, you know?
But yeah, I mean, I do think that those flashbacks made him look worse and they made Caprica look better. And
Mhm.
whether or not that was something they intended, I part of me has to imagine they did, even though I didn't necessarily see any explanation or wording
Mhm.
about that, because making Caprica look better makes the Cylons look like it gives her that extra humanity. I mean, she didn't I don't know. I didn't feel from those flashbacks like she found Baltar's father a a better place
Yeah.
because only because she wanted in on the mainframe or whatever. I felt like she did that because she saw that they were both Baltar and his dad were miserable.
Yeah.
And he was losing nurses because his dad was a mean old man. And she was
Yeah.
like, well, I found a place where he won't feel that way. Like maybe he'll
Yeah.
be nicer because he's in a place where he's happier. And I, I didn't, I don't know. I guess I could be wrong, but I've always felt that that was more out of like, I didn't feel like she was trying to, because guys, the Baltar didn't even like his father. Like,
Yeah.
how much is that really going to affect him? And even
Yeah.
when he's like, "Well, I guess I'll show you the defense mainframe now," and he's like, "The things men do for love," it all felt very like
Yeah. Yeah.
the things men do
Mhm.
for love. Like it almost still felt like he was being the fake one and she was the one
Yeah.
who was being real.
Yeah.
So yeah, not entirely against how that turned out.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Uh Gosh, I mean, I can't believe we've reached the end of this series. What now that we are at the end, I don't know, let's give some general conclusions about how we felt rewatching and I don't
Yeah.
know. Like talk to me about like what has covering this on the webcast like made you feel differently about things? Has it
I
other
think
including hot dog?
yeah, including hot dog. I found a new love for hot dog. Um, there was things that I was more critical about this time than I was the first time that
Yeah.
I saw it, you know, like and not in the sense of special effects or the way it was, like, but like the characters in it, you know, like Gata, right? Like Gata, like I liked what had happened to him, and I was like, wow, it's cool. And yeah, it sucks it went down. But now watching it, I'm just like, man, fuck you, dude. How you gonna do shit like that? You know, like I was not like as a, I guess as a forgiving with him this time around than I was like the first time.
Which is funny because I think I was more forgiving this time.
Really,
Yeah.
man.
Not
So,
entirely forgiving, but a little bit
yeah,
more maybe not forgiving, more understanding.
yeah. So, yeah, I would say it was probably a little more critical about some of the people to where I was just like, dude, like you need to chill out, like come on, dude, like that's why I was like, like with Hilo, there was times that he aggravated me because I'm like, dude, can you stop being a goddamn saint for just 5 fucking minutes so we can like actually get shit
Never.
done? No,
Never.
he never gave in, like, and even with shit with like Anders and Starbuck, where it was like, Anders, man, like, what are you doing? Why are you still chasing this chick? She treats you like shit all the fucking time. But but like back then it was like, yeah, Starbuck's fucking cool. And I still love Starbuck, don't get me wrong. But at them as a couple, I'm like, bro, he would have been like Anders and Hilo would have been my best friends. Like if they were real people and I was on the Galactica and
Starbuck
everything,
did not deserve Anders.
you know?
Okay.
No,
Did
like
not
not at all.
deserve.
No, not at all. And it's like, dude, why are you torturing yourself with this bullshit? Like come on, bro, Um so yeah, there was things like that, like but when it comes to like some of the main characters like the president or the admiral, like I really liked the admiral's story, just from start to finish. He's easily my favorite character throughout the entire series, and I loved his flashback in the last episode, man. When they're putting like
Mm.
the fucking lie detector test on it, he's just like, fucking get this crap off me,
Fuck this shit.
like he's like, fuck this, man,
I ain't going corporate.
Yeah, he was like, dude. He's like, "I'd rather spend my fucking days in a fucking broken down old ship than have someone question my word." And when he says it, he's like looking him dead in the eyes, and it's just like, dude, classic Edward James Olmos, baby, classic, you know. But no, it was great. The poor special effects was something I noticed this time around that I didn't notice last time. But it was had more to do with like the Cylons and some other like weird stuff. But I felt like their ships were pretty much on point from start to finish, you know. So it was like little things, but I still felt like the same way about it, you know. Like I was like, this is still one of the greatest shows that I think ever
Fuck yeah.
hit the television, like from start to finish. It was perfect, you know. Even now, I certainly appreciated the ending more now than I did back
Hmm.
then. Back then it was more jarring because it was just like, what is, you know, like the fact that they find Earth wasn't the problem. It was like the angels, and then, you know, Kara and like all this stuff was a little more jarring back then. But then now, kind of walking into it and knowing it was like cool, and it was less disappointing because I already knew what the opera house scene was. So I was like, okay, I can't be disappointed at the outcome because I know what it is now, you know?
Yeah,
Or
I think that I was less I was more forgiving of some things.
mhm,
Maybe not, like I said, more understanding of some things. Zarek at the end for sure. I was more understanding and looking at his actions in a different way. Not again,
mhm,
not saying that they were right necessarily, but um I think I was actually like I don't know. I don't think this changed the way I looked at things a ton other than that. Like I think I was more forgiving
mhm,
or more understanding of things. I think that there I did get to air my grievances about Callie a lot, which like
mhm.
I don't know if that's like I don't know if it's an unpopular opinion that Callie is awful. And I don't like saying it because hate I don't want it to sound like I don't like Callie just because,
Yeah.
she's I don't even know. Like, I just don't I think the Nexium thing definitely
It
made
it
that
it
worse, actually, now that I
it's
think about it,
yeah,
really.
it certainly tainted it for me
Real
because
life sorry, real life shit.
yeah, no, it certainly tainted it because the first go around, I loved Callie, you know, like, and when Callie died, it was like, it was a heartbreak for me because I loved her. I was like, man, I love Callie, you know, and like, yeah, and this time around, I'm just like, oof, wow, this is
I
weird.
definitely found a new appreciation for hot dog.
Yes, yeah, exactly, dude. You know, I think we will all fans will eventually come to know Hot Dog, you know, and they'll appreciate him for what he is, what he
Well,
should have
they
been, one of the final five.
if they listen to our podcast, our webcast, maybe they will.
Yeah, there you go.
Jesus.
There you go.
Listen to us. Hot dog is the real savior of the story.
Exactly, dude. Hot Dog, he
Uh
makes it.
I I
Look.
I've always really loved Starbuck a lot, and I think that the first time I watched I not my last rewatch, but one of let's say like my second to last not
Mhm,
my previous rewatch, maybe the one before that. I was
mhm,
watching it with a significant other at the time, and uh he ended up not finishing the series because of the Starbuck and Lee and them cheating on their spouses.
mhm,
Which I feel like, I don't know, man, you're watching a fucking TV show. Like, don't because this is a person who did the same thing in another show we were watching together. He refused to
mhm,
finish watching it because there was I don't even think it was like a cheating situation, but it was like a
mhm,
person who like broke up with somebody and like literally the next day slept with another person because they were like
mhm.
heartbroken, whatever.
Yeah.
But like that sort of like judgmental shit does not like fly with me and when you're watching like
Mhm.
media of any sort, but
Yeah.
watching it with that person like I do think I got a little bit more of a negative opinion on the shit that Starbuck and Lee were doing.
Mhm,
Not that I ever agreed with it, but I
mhm,
think watching it with somebody who is so like bleh about it. But
mhm.
then watching it again now, I feel like it's still bad, right? They're still
Yeah.
fucking cheaters, but watching it again with like a fresh mind of like having seen it the way I originally thought, having seen it that way, and now seeing
Mhm,
it again from a a critic's point of view, I guess, in a way. Like,
Mhm.
I don't want to call myself a critic because yes, we have talked some shit, but we're not critics of this show in the sense that we're like, oh yeah, fuck this show, we're never watching
Yeah,
it again. Like, absolutely,
exactly.
give me a few years, I'll watch the whole show, maybe less. I'll watch this whole show all over again, and that's the. But like, yeah, I definitely saw or had some different thoughts about like Starbucks character and everything. This is also the first time I think I really went back and looked at the blog entry that I wrote that we talked about in our last episode
Mhm.
about all the theories about who or what she was.
Mhm.
Getting extra insights from Dean has been like really nice to like more just because he's like studied the show inside and out.
Mhm. Yeah.
So getting some more insights from him has been interesting. And I also think I thought, especially in these last 3 episodes, I thought a lot more about Baltar and Six than I ever
Mhm.
had in the past. Like in the past, I was kind of like, ugh, whatever.
Yep.
Like Baltar's been doing his own thing. Six was with Ty and like pregnant with his baby for a
Yep.
while. Like,
Yep.
so
Yep.
yeah, I don't know. As it is, the reason the show was obviously worthy of media that made us, and can I continue to feel just
Mhm.
this immense like love and appreciation for the show is because I don't know how many shows can you say are just this good?
Yep.
Even with the flaws, even with the anything. Like,
Yep.
how many shows can you it's still one of my top 5
Totally.
shows,
Yep.
always will be. I literally cannot imagine it not being. I say,
Yeah, this
as I adjust Dean's giant for those listening to the podcast, I wore my BDU tanks are in I actually have 2 sets, but they're both in South Carolina, so and Dean is unfortunately out of town. We had a death in the family this week. So I was like, hey, can I wear your tanks? And his are like, they're not super big on me, which makes me wonder how he ever fit in them, but maybe it's my boobs. But also they're
Yeah.
like, they're sitting really weird. I'm like, as I am adjusting my partner's BSG tanks over here that I wore that only the people who are watching can see,
Are
not
gonna
the
be able
people
to
who
see
are
it.
listening. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, listen, 5 out of 5, yeah, 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. Or what do we no, we usually rate 10 out of 10 Zach Morris's, right?
Yeah.
So what is our media? We never gave the media that made
Media
us
made us know.
fail. What would it be named?
Shit.
Shoot.
Hmm.
I don't want to go with something as base as stars.
Ha, 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 ha.
Hot dogs. Hot
Hot
dogs.
dogs. There you go. It's gotta be hot dogs. It's gotta be hot
9.5,
dogs.
9.5 out of or 9.75 out of 10 hot dogs. Listen.
Yeah, look, I'll give this one a 10 out of 10 hot dogs
Mm,
just because of the way it made me feel when I first watched it. I can look at
yeah.
it now and I can like tear it apart, but this was the only show that brought buzz amongst people who like I didn't normally talk to at all. And they would be like, and like I made friends from it. And like, because it was always like, dude, did you watch last week's episode? Like, what do you think is going to
Yeah.
happen next? Like, what's going to happen? Like, it was just, and every episode we watched, it was just so memorable and like amazing. And it's like, I watched it with like this cousin of mine who passed away, about 7 or 8 years ago. And he was young, and we brought it, we brought him in to like watch it, and he loved it, and he became part of our group that watched it, and we were just always so exciting, and like, so so much like you can watch a bad show, right? That's maybe like a 6 out of 10, right? But when you watch it with a group of people and you feel the excitement of everybody getting into it and everybody doing it, you know what I'm saying? It's like the Rocky Horror Picture Show is
Mm,
not a masterpiece within itself, right? It's an interesting movie for sure,
yeah.
but what makes it fun is the group participation. It's everything, you know what I'm saying? That
Oh,
kind
I
of
was
goes
in the
along with it.
musical at one point,
Well,
and
there you
it
go.
was the most fun fucking thing I've ever done.
Mhm.
Well, it was one of the most fun shows I've ever done.
Yeah.
So it was probably the most fun live musical I've ever done. I'll put it that way.
So yeah, so I guess when I'm rating the show, I'm rating more of the experience than anything else, and hands down 10 out of 10. It was a fantastic
Mm.
experience, and it spanned such a huge change in my life because when the show started, I was a very different person than when the show ended. So when you see Daybreak and you see these people and how their life changed and it's like you grew up together almost,
Yeah.
So it was cool, so 10 out of 10, man. Gotta give it to 'em.
Yeah, and I didn't quite have that because I started watching it not long before the final season came out. So watching it live wasn't a thing I really experienced. Although like I had friends who watched it live who I would
Mhm.
visit in Florida
Yeah.
and in Orlando when I was still like working seasonally for Disney.
Mhm.
And they would like, "Oh, we're watching Battlestar live tonight. You sticking around?" And I'm like, "I haven't watched the show." And also like, I'm going out with my friends because I'm here for like a week or whatever.
Yeah.
And now I regret that because I feel like I would have had some of those experiences, although I would have kind of been jumping in like mid show or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, again, like as much as we've picked things apart here and there, I don't want to say like, oh, we have zero complaints, but the complaints are like we're not complaining so much as we're just analyzing,
Analyzing it, exactly.
analyzing,
Analyzing it.
analyzing.
Exactly, exactly. Because I don't have any complaints about it,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
a great show. And
yeah,
the experience, like I said, it was just extremely memorable, like for
yeah.
me, so yeah, that's why I give it 10 out of 10, hands down.
10 out of 10 hot dogs.
To the
And
Galactica.
you
May
you
she
this is
rest
gonna
in
you
peace.
do realize that this is throughout our media that made us no matter what we're covering, we're always going to rate things on scales of hot dogs.
Hot dogs now, exactly. 10 out of 10 hot
Listen, they
dogs.
they they serve those in, movie theaters too, so
Exactly. They should have thrown
also
that in that fucking opera house prophecy, like them getting fucking hot dogs. And then I would have been like, "Oh my god, the prophecy has something to do with hot dog. Hot dog is the final Cylon." Or maybe he's God. He's not even he's like God is what it is, and like, no,
Oh my god.
no.
Alright, anything else before we close out?
It was one hell of a ride.
It's been a hell of a ride. We've been doing this almost a year now. Our
Mhm,
our
yeah.
first our first, episode was, I wanna
It's
say
in May, right?
late May.
Late May.
Of
Yep.
last year. Yeah, almost a year. Um, so our next series won't be that long, but get into that in a second. As we close out this episode, we just want to thank you for joining us for our 12th media that made us show on the Battlestar Galactica Daybreak Arc. We will be back on Wednesday, April 30th to kick off our next media that made us coverage on drum roll, please. The Lord of the Rings movies, you guys.
Yes.
We went back and forth about this. We have some really great ideas for future media that made us series, episodes, whatever
Mhm.
you want to call it. But we decided that next up we want to do something a little bit shorter. And so we will be talking about Return of the King, the extended edition, because
Yep.
PS, extended editions only, bitches.
Exactly. Only extended editions, man.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, we'll have so much to talk about. I still can't believe, Manny, that you have not actually ever read The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien.
No, I read The Hobbit. I read The Hobbit and like that was it, but I never
We're
read
we're
like
we're we're going back to House of the Dragon era, like a hot
exactly.
D we're going to hot D takes era, Manny and Tara, where like
Yep.
I've read and you have not.
And I have
So
not. I am the Unsullied. So yes, I've not been ruined by the books. I didn't know what happened in the movies. When I was watching the
ruined.
movies, it was like watching
You
it
better
for the
be
first
careful.
time.
We're gonna get hated on for that.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh man, I gotta watch out what
But yeah,
the fan base.
so yeah, keep a weather eye out for the next episode to be scheduled. But again, Wednesday, April 30th, we're gonna be talking about Return of the King, the Peter Jackson film, obviously. In the meantime, please do not forget to like, subscribe, or rate us 5 stars wherever you're watching or listening. And as always, please also consider supporting us by backing our Patreon. We will actually be doing our next live episode, our live patron only episode for anybody who is a $5 and up a month patron this coming Saturday, April 12th. So definitely check it out at patreon.com/geek saga _ entertainment. Bye.